He's simplified systems that you can plug and play into your practice to get new patients in and get fair exchange for the services rendered. They're affordable for your patients. They're not astronomical fees like some of these coaching firms that are out there just charging ridiculous money to the doctors and expecting you to charge ridiculous money to the patients. All right, doctors and attorneys with the Whiplash Group. I'm here with Bryan Citron today, and I love having people in our network and our group that are just really good black belts at their niche. And that's what I'm trying to train you guys to just pick your niche, pick your lane and run with it and get good at it. But we want to have multiple profit centers in our office. Obviously, we want to be really good at personal injury, but there are other tools that do plug and play really nice in our office to help us serve more people and generate more income. And Bryan is really dialed in at doing the marketing. And I know marketing is part of practice that a lot of docs don't like to do, though. I think you're the best part of marketing your business and growing your business. And Bryan has tools where he can leverage your skills, your personality, and just really blow the doors off your practice serving people in your community. So Bryan, do you mind if I just lob it over to you and you just give us your background and what you're doing?
Sure. Thanks so much, Dr. Shetland, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here on your program. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the president of chiropracticadvertising.com, and at the end of the year, this will be my 10th year, running this company. And both my parents and my uncle are chiropractors. My father actually met you years ago at a relicensing seminar, and that's how we originally got connected. And I've been to your event out in Utah. You've been to my Practice Growth Summit out in Southern California. And so I've been doing this a long time. And, we've been doing this pre-COVID, post-COVID, newer technologies, that can really help you do this easier, post that. And, I won the Duke Comic Club Award for helping doctors. And we've implemented something, semi-recently that's really been crushing it. Because historically, I'm sure that if they've ran ads online, it's typically like a new patient special. Come and get your $49 offer to come on in for, a couple things. And then from there, you try to convert them into a care plan patient. Because you can't just get PI on demand, and so that's kind of the traditional method. And they say sometimes old school is new school, and so we implemented something recently that's been crushing it. In just a few months, we've done like over 120 live events around the nation inside a doctor's office. So like historically, you maybe do like a lunch and learn, you do like a dinner with the doc. You send out a bunch of postcards and you advertise that over at Red Lobster or like over at the steakhouse, and those work and they have a good ROI. The problem is that it's really, really expensive, number one. Number two, it can be hit and miss. And number three, maybe half the people there are there. Why, Dr. Shetland? Why are they there? Exactly. They're there for the free food, they're there for the free steak, and then their guests are there for the free steak and they're wanting to take food home with them. It's like half the people are there, for the wrong reasons. The other half are guests, right? And so it can be really frustrating. And I remember my mom got a mailer in the mail recently, and she invited me to it, and it's for neuropathy. And I've never heard her talk about having symptoms of neuropathy, but she invited me to go to this lunch and learn over at a restaurant. And so I went there. She didn't schedule an appointment, and I looked to my mom and I said, "Hey, if this was in the doctor's office with cold cuts, would you have come?" And she's like, "No." And I'm like, that's exactly why instead of having it at a restaurant, we say, let's have it in your office. Because if it's in your office, what is that? Home field advantage. So if you have a beautiful office, they're going to see that, and it's going to be much more likely for them to be able to convert into care with them being at your office. And so what we're advising doctors to do is have in-office seminars, right? And you can do them on a Tuesday, like 12 or 12:30, or if you want to do an evening session, you could do that. And we're encouraging you guys to promote to get people to actually come to your office for that. And what we're recommending is let's get 10 to 20 qualified candidates to show up. And you might be saying, what's a qualified candidate? Somebody that has the problem that you're advertising. Not necessarily has the money, but has a problem. And here's what I say. Just because people don't have the resources doesn't mean they're not resourceful. For example, they might have great credit. They might have kids that have great credit. They might have, something that they could sell. They could be creative to get the money. I remember I paid for my pastor to get regenerative therapy shots one time, right? And so just because they don't have the resources doesn't mean they're not resourceful. And you really want to give them options. Obviously they can pay upfront cash. I always recommend having at least 3 backup options for financing. You can do Care Credit. That's a good one. Another one that a lot of doctors don't know about is actually PayPal. People don't think of PayPal when it comes to like financing in a healthcare setting, but they'll actually finance up to $10,000, and I heard you get the money instantly. And they actually approve more people than Care Credit approves. And you just really want to give people options to get the help that they need. And so number one, we're having in-office seminars, and they're working. We're getting 10 to 20 people to show up for these things. And then at the end of that seminar, what you want to do is you really want them to schedule a paid consultation, a paid new patient special. And I don't like to give away a treatment for that. And you really want to keep that price under $100, because the goal here isn't to make a bunch of money here. The goal is to get them to pull out their wallet and commit to the next step of figuring out what's wrong with them, to figure out if they're a candidate and if you can help them. And you're basically gonna treat the seminar as your day one, right? And when they come back for the paid consultation and exam, etc., you're gonna treat that as your day two. So best case scenario is you're actually closing them on day two. And so my uncle, he's been in practice over 40 years, and he's a PI practice. Primarily he's in PI for his entire career as a chiropractor. You've met him. He came out to one of the Whiplash group events, right? And so we're doing the same thing for his practice, because he doesn't offer traditional style care plans. And so we're actually helping him implement that into his office. And so I actually have the slides for you guys to have access to. I have a video of a doctor presenting on different topics. We have examples of care plan protocols. We have equipment to help get you set up if you don't have the equipment to do this. And we have the scripting for your staff to use. I even have a call center. And specifically on the case for my uncle, I'm actually flying in a closer to actually do the presentation, number one. And number two, he's going to go ahead and do all the case management all week. And so all my uncle has to do is actually, do fulfillment on the care that's sold.
Doctor is Latin for teacher or educator. We should be teaching. We should be public speaking. We should be working on those skills. If we're not comfortable with it, we got to go outside our comfort zone for the growth. But to have a business that will actually come out and teach and close for you, it's a no-brainer to get started. You just can't not get an ROI from what Bryan's doing for you today. So, go ahead.
But after doing like 100 plus events in just a few months, I think we're doing like 14 this week. I have the data. One doctor, we made him $10,000 at his first event. Another doctor, he's made over $19,000 at an event. Another doctor, his very first seminar, he made $28,000. Another doctor, in a 30-day period, we look back and he made like over $42,000. And this is above and beyond what he's already doing, right? Above and beyond. And the best part about this is predictable. We can predict that we're going to get 10 to 20 people to show up to your office. And some doctors do this every week. Some doctors do it every other week. Some doctors do it like, 3 times a month. Some doctors do it once a month. I recommend at least twice a month though, back to back, because like what's going to happen is people are going to register, but then they're going to get called into work. They're going to get sick. They're going to have a family emergency. And those people, they have a legit problem because they reached out to you and let you know they couldn't make it, right? And if you're only doing them once a month, if you say tough luck, you're going to have to wait. You're going to stay in pain for the next month. What are they going to do? They're going to go to your competitor, right? And so if you do them at least back to back at the beginning, if they call and they reschedule, you say, hey, no worries, we're going to have one again next Tuesday. Can you make it to that one? And if they can't make it to that one, then you push for them to schedule directly with the doctor. But I really like for them to come to the actual event because it's really at scale. You're able to talk to everybody and you're really maximizing your time. Because sure, you could basically have a one-on-one with each of those people and talk to them for an hour, but how much easier is it to be positioned as the expert, the celebrity expert in your town that's going to be talking at scale, talking to them, and then getting them to schedule a paid consult. And this is something interesting that the guy that I'm flying in is going to be doing for us, because I want to maximize the success of this, and he's only going to be there for a week. And because of this, what he's going to do is he's going to say, hey, listen, guys, we actually have more staff in the office tomorrow than normal, which we do, because we have the designated closer. And he says, if you guys schedule on my calendar for tomorrow, it's only going to be $20 because we have more staff and we want to be busy, right? And so literally at the end of the presentation, you're doing the thing called the stack. And Russell Brunson is the master of talking about the stack, where you talk about, you're going to get all these different things and you're going to talk about the value of them all. And you want it to be itemized and over $1,000, right? And you could say you're going to get $1,000 worth of value, But because you're here today, it's only going to be $249. And we want to give you this special offer for you to book. But if you schedule this week, we're going to knock off another $200, and it's going to be only $49. But we want to be extremely busy tomorrow. Because of that, we'll make it such a no-brainer. If you come in tomorrow, it's only $20. And everybody pulls out their wallet and schedules, or a lot of people do. Another thing that's important is don't take questions. If they ask a question, and at the end of it, you could say, I know you guys probably have questions. That's why we're going to come over to each of you and talk to you guys privately because of HIPAA violations. We don't want to talk publicly about that. And by doing that, that's going to solve problems like, does insurance cover this? Or the negative person in the room. At the very end of it saying we're not taking questions, we'll answer them privately. You're going to be able to alienate those people that maybe they're disruptors. And because if you say any questions and they start asking like weird stuff, or they say, I tried this before, it didn't work, and it sours the room, you don't want to do that. You want to immediately, shut down any opportunities for that and literally say we're going to answer your questions privately, or that's why we're going to go ahead and.
Yeah. And I just want to point out to everybody listening here, Bryan is a master at these things. We all talk about beginning with the end in mind. Bryan's done enough of these over the years to know what problems or pitfalls can pop up, and he's already black belted how to avoid those in the beginning, so they aren't a problem. That's what he's talking about right here. And I just think it's really important to know if you're overwhelmed with all this stuff, that's what's so beautiful about his system is he has people in place to help do the heavy lifting till you learn to do it comfortably yourself. But these are skill sets that you're going to want to have in practice anyway, because you can then take this and these teaching skills and then plug them into something else, like going and doing other lectures for personal injury or for other things. But I really admire Bryan for his business skill set in this, because he's not some fly-by-night marketing advertising person. His heart is in it for chiropractic. He looks at it with the beginning and end in mind, and he figures out and problem solves along the way, and he tracks stats like nobody I've ever seen. He is on top of the stuff on what works and what doesn't work, so he can pivot to make sure that you get your maximum benefit. It is marketing. There are some things that just, you win some, you lose some, but it's a numbers game, and he has got it dialed in. So trust this guy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shetland. Now, in terms of what we can advertise, we like to advertise anything that's a high value cash case, right? And so if your chiropractic is at least $2,000 or more, which it should be, you can advertise chiropractic, right? But other things that you can expand into, which a lot of doctors are doing very successfully, is decompression, right? You can charge $5,000 or more for decompression, number one. Number two, neuropathy, that's a big one. Knee's a really big one. Regenerative therapy, right? You can promote regenerative therapy if you want to be integrated, have like a nurse practitioner or a medical director doing a regenerative therapy shots. Weight loss is a big one as well. We've done incontinence. And so those are some winners right out the back that you should be implementing some of that. And if you don't, we actually have protocols to help you implement those into your practice. For example, we have technology vendors that can get you access to equipment at a much better rate. We have protocols if you don't know what to actually, how to structure. Obviously, you, as the doctor, you have final say. But we have examples of other doctors who've gone before you, what they've done. There's a lot of great opportunities, and so for my uncle's practice, we're implementing neuropathy protocols as well as decompression protocols into his practice. And eventually, we're going to be doing knee as well, because we've got some equipment that can treat knee pain. Eventually, I'm going to go ahead and bring in like a nurse practitioner. We've done a lot of the heavy lifting, and we're not charging for this invaluable training. There's organizations that might charge $10, $15, $20, $40, $50,000 just to get access, just to the PowerPoints, just for the protocols, just for that. But because as a marketing company, we make money whenever you guys are successful. We want you to be successful, right? Because if you don't know what to do, you're not going to keep hiring us to implement this in your practice, right? And because of that, we've worked with some of the top practices around the nation. We've interviewed them, we've talked to them, we've gotten them to share their protocols from multiple practice management groups of what works. And we're able to bring this back to you where you don't get locked into difficult agreements and struggling, but instead we're bringing you the best of everything. And we're doing it to really, really, really help you succeed.
It's awesome. What I love about this is you'll notice, doctors and attorneys, when I bring something to the table, I want it to be congruent. I'm not going to encourage you guys to do something that I wouldn't do myself or I didn't do in practice. I run the Whiplash group with the same procedures and protocols and expectations that I'm training you to expect from your patients and clients. And what's really cool about this is we have the day 1, day 2 seminar. It's called Cash and PI Congruency, which I'm all about packages. And that's what I love about what Bryan's doing is he's doing packages, which we as the doctors sometimes need to get over. Sorry, this is doctor centric, not attorney centric, but we as the doctors, we need to be comfortable with, hey, look, we can do cash packages where they prepay. They're getting discounts, but they're prepaying. They're committed. We're going to get better results because they're going to follow through because they paid for it. They follow through. They actually get the results that we're shooting for. So then they're happy. They're referring others. People stay, pay, and refer. Everything Bryan is doing is a package that you can plug and play into your office that's separate from what you're already doing, chiropractic or PI or whatever. Like I say, he's got these other packages, but then you're also going to learn from doing his marketing and doing his protocols how to do better packages, even for your regular chiropractic or PT patients. Well, I want to thank Bryan for being with us today. I just think this is such powerful, simple, leverageable tools. Remember, we're all about simplicity, probability, leverage. If he hasn't executed those 3 words so well and what he's bringing to the table for you and your practice, I don't know how else to explain it. He's simplified systems that you can plug and play into your practice to get new patients in and get fair exchange for the services rendered. They're affordable for your patients. They're not astronomical fees like some of these coaching firms that are out there just charging ridiculous money to the doctors and expecting you to charge ridiculous money to the patients. These are reasonably priced so that you have more predictability on the outcomes. And that simplicity, probability, leverage, it's leverage where he can even bring other people in to do the lectures and the close for you. So it doesn't have to be you in the beginning or ever if you don't want. So please reach out. How do we reach you, Bryan?
Sure. If you go to chiropracticadvertising.com, you can go ahead and schedule onto my calendar right there. And so I have my calendar open. So go to chiropracticadvertising.com and you'll be able to schedule directly with me. And from there, I can jump on with you, learn more about your practice, and learn how we can implement this into your practice.